I want to move on to Bill Belichick and the latest with him. They're trying to squash all the rumors that this Belichick North Carolina thing is going to come to an end. There have been people posting over X that, like, man, there's discussions of a buyout. Some of it doesn't ring true to me. I want to read something. This guy's name is last name is Connolly. He posted, per sources, Bill Belichick has discussed buyout options with North Carolina's hierarchy. Belichick has signaled a willingness to trigger his own $1 million buyout if he can find a soft landing with another team or in the media. I find that, and this guy's name is Ollie Conley, I believe. I find that hard to believe that just for $1 million, and he's got some huge mega contract, he's going to take $1 million to walk away. I don't buy that, Steve. What do you think?
Well, I think Jordan would never allow it. That would not pass her standard. I'll tell you that. She's the one that's the boss. Guys, now there are tweets saying that Belichick is committed. We saw the social media post from UNC. Your buddy Bubba Cunningham also said, we're in this. And I'm thinking, okay, probably at gunpoint you made that statement. And then now he's making recruiting calls because he's in this for the long term. This reminds me a little bit of a situation with Paul Feinbaum. People report that he's been suspended from ESPN, and as soon as it comes out from Clay Travis, next thing you know, he's on every show. This is what it seems like. Where there's smoke, there is fire. And Jason, we've been saying it for at least 4 or 5 months. This was always going to be an awkward, bad fit. And here's the reality. I believe a media job is out there. I can see him going back to Pat McAfee and being a football sage. I would still listen to him. I'd learn stuff. But in terms of him being a coach of any major organization, I've thought for a while he took this North Carolina job because there was nothing else.
Steve, you've said something incredible, and I'm glad you said it. But you think people still want to hear from Bill Belichick at this point?
Yes.
You don't think he's made enough of a fool of himself that he's completely destroyed his credibility moving forward? What media? I don't think he'd be an asset.
McAfee. Why not? They had a good Look, if he wants to just talk nuts and bolts football during his time off last year, believe it or not, I subscribed to his podcast. By the way, his co-host was Mike Lombardi. They may both be in the market to do that again. And by the way, I watched it every week, and I learned stuff. Now, he's not doing a life advice column. He's not Dear Abby. I wouldn't take life advice from him based on the last year or two. I would not. But I can't take away his football acumen and the IQ that he has. Now, would you kind of snicker and roll your eyes at times? Yeah, we're all human. But would we learn something? I believe we would.
TJ, you've been in a locker room with Bill Belichick. Do you think the public, after this debacle, could still take him seriously as a media personality talking football?
Yeah, probably so. Look, you consumers just want to. There's only 2 reasons you watch anything. You want to be entertained, or you want to learn something. And Bill can actually offer you both of those things because he tells stories about Tom Brady. Everybody's interested in those stories. Everybody. And every time he tells one of them, it goes viral on Twitter. And so whatever point he's making, he can go back to, this reminds me of the time Tom Brady did this on one of the 20 years that I had him in my locker room. That's interesting. And can he teach you something? He may have lost the ability to command a locker room and to have any discipline whatsoever, and perhaps he lacks focus at this point. And all of that is true. He has not lost his knowledge. He has not lost his ability to talk strategy and know how and what to do things on the field. And at this point in his life, actually, he's far more suited to be Rex Ryaning it right now on ESPN than he is leading a locker room. You get to that point, and he's there.
Rex Ryan, as a coach, was always a personality. Yeah. And so when I see him being a personality on ESPN, it makes sense. Bill Belichick avoided being a personality as a head coach.
But he has one.
Yeah.
But he has one, Jason.
Yeah.
I experienced it, and I saw it at the Tom Brady roast. He actually has one.
Jason, TJ, I don't know if you remember this. About 5-6 years ago, the NFL Network did like a top 100-year anniversary team, and the host was Rich Eisen. The co-host was actually Bill Belichick on the desk, and they went through every player. I thought Bill Belichick was excellent because once he gets into the history of the game, as TJ says, he has story, he has anecdotes, he has an appreciation, the way he converses. The thing is, the Bill Belichick we see that, we're on to Cincinnati. That's not Bill Belichick all the time. It really is not. Also, his ability to tell stories and his recall is unbelievable. And a couple years ago, he was on the Pat McAfee version of the draft coverage. They did an alternate broadcast. And Belichick actually explained how a draft board is set up on draft day. So when you see these names, he explained how we organize it, how we do it by position and grade and need. I thought it was fascinating. When Bill Belichick wants to be a fascinating interview or a subject, he can be. He just chooses not to be.
I agree.
Okay.
You disagree. Obviously, you disagree.
Yeah.
I just think at some point it's such a brand switch and he's done so much damage. When I see Bill Belichick now, I think of like, there's a 24-year-old girl that has him wrapped around her finger. Yeah. And I can relate. I can legitimately say I can relate to that, and I understand that weakness. But I just don't take the coach, the expert, as seriously when there's a thing we used to call being pee-whipped. And I don't know if there's a better example of someone being pee-whipped than Bill Belichick, and it just undermines his credibility, particularly given his previous persona. I think social media would try to eat him up, and I don't think his personality, his ego would be able to handle that. Not that he's on social media much, but now he's got this young girlfriend he'll hear about it. No.
Yeah, maybe so. I will tell you, though, from experience, I know he's not on My Face or InstaFace or My Book. Okay. He told me all of those things personally. You know who had a really bad brand before he got into media and now is doing really, really well? Dan Orlovsky. He was Mr. 0-16, step out of the back of the end zone. People did not have an ounce of respect for him because, somewhat we're stupid, right? If you can make it to the NFL quarterback. Mr. 0-16, Mr. Step out of the backfield, out of the back of the end zone. Today, nobody thinks that at all. They actually think he's one of the best broadcasters on ESPN. He's really well informed, has interesting opinions, and he's the only guy with the courage to pray on air. So I think you can change your brand if you want and do a good job.
Well, Dan Orlovsky had no real brand before going on ESPN. Yes, he was the butt of a joke as a backup quarterback, journeyman quarterback in the NFL. But, I mean, this is such a pivot for Belichick, the guy that everyone took seriously, to now the guy that everyone's laughing at. I do think I'm wrong here. I think you guys are probably right. I'm outvoted here. And the more I think about it, it's like, man, TV can turn a buffoon into an expert. I'm looking at all these buffoonish athletes that all get to go on TV, and Randy Moss gets to go on TV and pretend like he was a culture guy on a bunch of NFL teams and that he was, this great leader and this, the guy ran great 9 routes, and hats off to him.
He was smart though, Jason. I will tell you, I got to New England not long after Randy Moss exited, and there are legendary stories about his intelligence. I mean, he's the only guy to ever walk in and get Bill Belichick to change anything based on his persuasion. They never got a single 12 men in the huddle penalty while he was there because of how on top of it he was. People talked about it. They had a system that didn't make sense, and Randy went in there and said, this doesn't make any sense. We need to start calling it like this, and Belichick changed it on the spot. There is something. I'm not a Randy Moss defender. I'm not Mr. Cry on air over John Gruden and all that, but I am telling you, the guy has got some football intelligence, and it's worth hearing.
All right, look, I've been shouted down. I had a good A block. I've struggled here in the B block. I'm willing to admit that. It happened.